Did you know most entrepreneurs are undercharging for their services? And the crazy part is they don't even know they're undercharging. In this episode, I'm going to show you why most entrepreneurs undercharge, why undercharging has little to do with the market that you're in, and I'm going to show you how to fix it so you can charge premium prices and serve people at a high level. One of the biggest problems new entrepreneurs face that they don't even realize is undercharging for their products and services. And this happens especially to those new entrepreneurs, people who are new to the game, people who are just starting out. And see, this is how it happens. When someone creates a product or an offer, right, they base their price off of two things. They'll look in the market and see what everybody else is charging. They're saying, well, shoot, if they're doing well with it, then I might as well charge around the same thing. So they'll either go slightly below or they'll go slightly above, right? And they'll only do that because it feels safe. Now, the other thing that they'll do is they'll base their charging based off of what they think others can afford. They'll base their charging of what they think others will pay for based on the offer, which more times than not ends up way below what they should be charging in the first place. But the thing is, when you create your pricing this way, you always end up racing to the bottom of the market. Because when everybody else starts lowering their prices, when everybody else starts offering discounts, now you feel like you have to do the same thing, right? It's like you start here, right? You're not here, but you start here, and then you say to your competitors, I'll race you to the bottom. And then after you, boom, discount, 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 sale, 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 sale. And to be honest, like, who wants to compete for the bottom? Who wants to race to the bottom, right? The bottom they have the worst clients. They have the most objections. They have the most people that say, I need to think about it. They have people who are always looking for a discount. They're the least respectful of your time. And most of all, they get on your nerves, right? You don't have that problem with premium clients. This is how it works with premium clients. Yeah. How much is it? $50,000. Cool. Just wired the money. Thanks. Conversation done. Sale made. Transaction made. That's what happens when you work with premium clients. Now, some people will argue, right, offering competitive prices, being the lowest, it works for some people. Look at McDonald's. Look at Walmart. Yes, I would say having the lowest price did work for them well, right? But what most people miss with McDonald's and Walmart is that they were real estate companies first, retail and food second, right? Walmart's strategy was, I want to find prime time location, right? I want to find a premium real estate spot that's centrally located, offers convenience where everybody can come, right? It's easy access. McDonald's, on the other hand, they just wanted to be on every single corner, right? They wanted to be here, they want to be here, they want to be here, they want to be here. You go a mile down the road, there's a McDonald's. You go another couple miles, there's a McDonald's. You go to the mall, there's a McDonald's. You go outside of the mall, boom, there's a McDonald's. So their strategy was just being everywhere. But when you can play that game at that level, like, you can win, because visibility is always going to beat ability, right? And people pay for convenience. But here, like, that's not our game, right? Our goal is to position ourselves as premium options in the industry. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, right? But first, we need to understand, what do I mean when I say undercharging? Because most entrepreneurs misunderstand what it means to undercharge. See, most people think undercharging means that you're charging less than everybody else. It's kind of that's more so the byproduct, right? They believe that, like, their prices are too low for their experience, something like that. Or they just have a limiting belief that the market won't pay more for what they're offering. Some people really believe that, like, nobody's going to pay more for this. Like, I'm already the top dog. But that's not what undercharging actually means. Undercharging isn't a market problem unless you absolutely suck at the thing that you do, meaning you can't get people the result that you are offering them. Because in my experience, more so than not, people can get people the result that they are offering, right? But more so than not, the reason that they undercharge is a self-value problem. It's a self-perception problem. Because the sad reality is most people undervalue themselves. They'll say, well, I just want to be humble. I don't want people to think that I'm better than them. People are going to think whatever they want to think, whether you say it or not, right? And if they think that you are better than them, especially if you haven't communicated that, it sounds like that's a personal problem to me. You never want to lower yourself to satisfy the opinion of others, because all you'll do is just add your name to the list of people with low self-esteem. But there are a lot of entrepreneurs who don't see themselves as good enough, right? And it's sad. Look, there's this story that I read about this consultant, right? He was a great guy, great at his job, but he was frustrated because he wasn't making the kind of money that he wanted to make. He wasn't making the kind of impact that he wanted to make, right? He looked for a whole bunch of different ways to try to find new customers, to tweak the marketing, to add bonuses, to create discounts. But as soon as it came to raising his price, he's, oh, no, I can't do that. No one's going to pay me more for this. Plus, like, I'm already the top dog. I'm already charging $50 more than the competitors, right? But then one day he's talking to his friend, who's doing extremely well in his business, by the way, right? And he's explaining his frustration, saying that he couldn't seem to get his business to the next level. And the friend listened to him, right? And he asked him, like, so what are you currently doing? Like, he explained his marketing, his lead generation, his pricing. He said, man, I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything that I can. Then his friend said, well, have you considered raising your prices? Because from what I can see, the value doesn't match the price. And then he comes up with all these excuses, talking about, well, I can't charge more, right? And his friend said, let me ask you this. If you were selling yourself as a service, what would you charge? The guy ends up laughing. If I was selling myself, oh, the price would be much higher. But I'm not selling myself. I'm selling a service. And then the friend asked, what's the difference? The guy said, well, the difference is, and like, then he realized, right, that he couldn't answer the question because there is no difference. He wasn't just selling a product or a service. He was selling himself through a product or a service, right? He's selling his time. He's selling his energy. He's selling his effort, his belief, his value, right? And this was the very unlock that the guy needed to get him to the next level. See, but when it comes to pricing, people don't realize how much your self-value affects your pricing. People think, oh, well, I'm just scared to raise my prices because I don't want people to, I don't want to lose business. I don't want people to leave, which I get because it's a real possibility, all right? Almost inevitable. Some will leave, some will stay. However, there's this guy in my coaching circle, right, named Matt Plummer. And he said something that was so good, right? He said, when you raise your prices, new people raise their hand. In order to commit to that level of growth in your business, to that level of growth within yourself, you got to put your big boy drawers on. You got to put your big girl panties on, right? You have to commit to the principle that every time you enter a new level, there are going to be new people that raise their hand. You have to commit to the principle that there are new people entering at every single level that you're going to. It's like transitioning into a high school, from a middle school to a high school. You'll have some friends that go to the same high school. Others, they'll be going to different schools. And guess what? That's okay. Why? Because high school has high school girls. High school has high school guys, right? And I've never heard anybody complain that went from middle school to high school about the high school girls and guys and want to go back to the middle school girls and the middle school guys. I haven't heard that, right? So you have to commit to the principle that there are new people that raise their hand when you raise your prices. And as I said before, pricing is about value, right? And there are two types of value. That that require you to raise your price, right? You have a market value and you have a self value. Market value, that's simple, right? It's creating results, solving meaningful problems, producing transformation, getting people the thing that they want. If you can do those things, guess what? Congratulations. You have market value. But self-value, that's different. Self-value is your self-perception. It's your confidence. It's your identity. Not just your confidence, because you can have confidence in the thing that you do, but it's the self-confidence. Do you have confidence in yourself, right? It's the beliefs that you have about yourself. Like in simple terms, your self-value is what you believe that you are worth, right? Now, here's the key. Both matter, but self-value is more important because market value determines what you can charge. You can look around at other people's product or services and say, yes, I can charge that price. But your self-value determines what you actually will charge. And the real problem that most entrepreneurs face is most entrepreneurs have a high market value but a low self-value. Meaning they produce great results. They solve great problems, right? They create transformations, but guess what? They don't charge enough. And what they're really doing is they're really just playing it safe and they're really just playing small. And they're playing the game based off of their competitors and what everybody else is doing. That's why undercharging is so dangerous, because you don't even feel like you're playing small until you get around people who ain't playing small, right? You know, I remember 10 years ago, I was working a job making about $35,000 a year. And this was around the time that I started getting into self-development. I was listening to Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, Jim Rohn, E.T., right? All these different guys. And I remember sitting there listening to Jim Rohn, right, do this seminar. And just absolutely having my brain broken, right? I mean, I could feel it breaking in real time. Because like I said, I'm making $35,000 a year. And he's talking about how these guys can make $30,000 a month. And I'm like, okay, hold up. Carry the one over here. $30,000 a month? Like, how am I sitting here making $35,000 a year and people are making $30,000 a month? Right? And I remember just sitting there like, what? It was crazy. But now what's crazy, even more crazy, is now I'm in circles where people are talking about making $1 million in a day, right? And this just goes to the power of environment. Like, one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself is change your environment, because it opens up your awareness to what is possible. And I function under the belief that if it's possible for them, oh, it's definitely possible for me too, right? I'm just as good. Environment is the single most important way to open your eyes as an entrepreneur to what you can be charging. So here's a simple principle that I learned years ago. When you raise your market value, but not your self-value, you'll still undercharge, right? When you raise your self-value, but not your market value, you'll lose trust in the market. So people will still buy from you, right? Because you're carrying the confidence and being able to sell confidently and have people buy, but you're not getting them the result. So now they'll lose trust, you'll get bad reviews, and now people eventually end up stop buying from you, right? But when you raise both, that's when you win. That's when you kill the game. Now the real question becomes, how do you actually raise your self-value? First, you must decide who it is you're becoming. Because before you raise your price, you must first raise your standards. You must know who it is that you need to become in order to charge premium prices. And you must decide to become that person. Premium prices starts with a decision. Starts with the decision to say, you know what? I'm no longer involving myself in low-level commitments. I'm no longer involving myself in low-level responsibilities and low-level conversations, low-level relationships. You have to make that decision up front, because I can promise you this. If you don't make that decision, you will find a reason to continue playing small. And what's even more crazy is that reason that you find, it'll make logical sense. It'll make perfect sense, right? But you have to make the decision up front, on where you're going, because you're going to face obstacles. You're going to face challenges. You're going to face things that you have to navigate that you may never have had to navigate before. But that is the power of making the decision up front, right? And you just have to know where you're going, right? Before you start actually taking steps to actually go there. So that's first. You must first make the decision and decide to become that person. Second is your physiology, right? Physiology always takes precedence over your psychology. Most people think that you have to start changing your mind and changing your thoughts first, right? But your body comes before your brain, right? Think about it like this. If someone's having a panic attack, if someone's having an anxiety attack, what is the first thing that they tell them to do? First thing they tell them to do is breathe. Why? Because they're trying to get their body under control, not their mind. You don't attack the brain first. You attack the body first, because everything flows through the body. Your emotions, your confidence, your body language, your energy, your physical strength, like everything is expressed through the body, which directly impacts how you feel, how you think, how you make decisions, how you show up, right? Your body is a physical representation of your mind. Once you can control your body, right, everything else will start to fall in line. Physical training builds self-value faster than anything, because it does something that nothing else can do. It gives you the daily proof that you keep your promises and you keep your word to yourself, which then gives you evidence. And the brain follows and believes evidence. Not what you desire, not what you want, but evidence. One of the best things that you can do for yourself, not just in business, but in life, is become the kind of person that you can trust and work hard to never break that trust, right? Building your self-worth, building your self-value doesn't come by just thinking better thoughts, but it comes by proving to yourself that you are who you say you are, that you are a person who keeps their word to themselves. And if you want to charge premium prices, guess what? You must become a premium person. Everything starts with the becoming, right? It's like the be, do, have. Everybody wants to start focusing on the behavior. And then they'll think, once I get the result, then I can call myself X, right? But it's your belief that drives your behavior, which then produces your results. Everything is all about becoming first, because if you never become the person, you'll never do the things consistently that you're supposed to do to get the results that you actually want, right? So the best thing that you can do for yourself is getting yourself in great physical shape, controlling your physiology. And this is not just about working out, but when I say physiology, I mean your posture, your energy, your confidence, right? Everything that is involved in the body, getting your body moving, not being stagnant, not keeping all that pent up energy that you have from the challenges of being an entrepreneur, of being in business, right? Once your body is aligned, your brain would then start to follow. So if you want to charge premium prices, you got to first become a premium person. And I believe that starts in the body. And another thing is, like, when people buy, people aren't just buying like your information, your features, your offer. However, but people buy because of three things: identity, status, and outcomes. And when you're in shape, right? When you carry a certain energy about yourself, when your posture and your confidence, and you exude a certain energy through your body, you carry a higher level of identity, right? You carry a status of strength, of good looks. And therefore, people are more inclined to believe that you can get them the outcome that they want. Physiology always precedes psychology. Next, you want to raise your expectations for those around you, right? You can't just make the shift internally. It can't just be something that you're just doing by yourself, but you also have to communicate to others the new standard that is being set. You have to communicate the new standard externally as well. That means to your team, to your clients, to your spouse, to your family, to your friends. Everyone must feel the shift, right? Not just you. That means higher expectations, higher level of accountability, greater boundaries. That's a big one, right? Because when your expectations go up, you are setting the stage and getting everybody else involved in the process of being able to raise your prices as well. Next, I would say don't raise your prices in small increments. Small increases. Like, people have a habit of doing that, but really it's more of an identity issue more than anything. It just keeps you safe, keeps you comfortable, keeps you close to the shoreline, right? And it doesn't signal the change that you are wanting to make, right? It may be a little uncomfortable to raise your prices a little bit more and take jumps in how you raise your prices, but it's supposed to be uncomfortable because all growth is uncomfortable, right? Not just physical growth, but growth in your business, growth in your life, growth in yourself. It's part of the process, right? You have to understand that it's all a psychological game with no one else but yourself. And small incremental changes does nothing more than reflect your identity, right? If you want to make these big changes, you have to have these massive identity changes first. It's like I explained earlier. If you change your prices without changing your identity, as soon as you go to try to communicate that, it's not going to come out the way you want it to come out. It's not going to sound the way you want it to sound because you don't have the confidence yet, and you haven't become the person to confidently say, this is how much I charge. Myron Golden charges $40,000 an hour. Do you know how much confidence you have to say when somebody says, well, how much do you charge? $40,000 an hour. And not flinch, right? I'm talking about in real time. Like, me saying that right now without having that offer to somebody is different from him saying it because it's actually his business that he is saying it about. So for me to be able to say it's easy because I don't have the commitment of getting someone the results after saying I charge $40,000 an hour. But that's more so a reflection of his identity more than his product or service, because you can ask, is there someone else in the market that does the exact same thing as him but charges less? Yes. So what is it different about their product and service, his product and service? The only difference is identity. All right? So you don't want to make these small incremental changes. It's like going to the gym and only wanting to lift lightweight because you're scared of lifting heavyweight. Right? But the heavyweight is where you get strong. The heavyweight is where it's the most uncomfortable. Right? So in real time, like, this is like an example of what it would look like. So let's say if you have like a $1,000 offer. I think everybody should have at least at the bare minimum, $1,000 offer, right? So you got $1,000 offer. You want to raise your prices. Instead of going 1,000 to 12,000, I mean not 12,000, 1,000 to 1,200 to 1,500. Instead, go 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, right? This type of growth and these type of jumps forces identity growth, right? You have to remember that the price is not about the number, but it's about your value and the growth in your identity. And another thing I personally don't like raising your prices on your existing clients. It's just not my thing. Some people will, but like maybe if they're in a contract where it's like 12 months and you go and do an extension on the next one, maybe you want to raise it on the next one. But when you have existing clients, keep them at the same rate if you can, right? But even though the price didn't change, I still will raise the expectations and raise the standards, right? But raise the new price for all your new clients, definitely raise the price. This allows you to keep your current clients happy while also allowing you to adapt to your new identity and the growth that you're desiring in your business. And the last one is just some people will leave. Let them, right? Remember, when you raise your prices, new people raise their hand. It's part of the process. Like, growth requires separation. And when your prices rise and your standards change, some people will leave. But guess what? Better clients are coming in. Like, that's how you get better quality clients and better quality clientele. And after all, premium clients, they're better anyway, right? But I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you got value from this episode. If so, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this with somebody you feel might be able to benefit from this episode. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.